How's it going, everybody? It's the Uncanny Omar. I don't know why I'm wearing this, but I am going to introduce my panel one by one. I have wonderful people. Apparently, I didn't get the memo. So let's go ahead and introduce them. First of all, it is Professor Max Xavier joining us to review X-Men 97, Season 2. How's it going, Professor Max Xavier?
I'm really tired. It's 2
You
a.m.
are. Yeah. I feel already underdressed, but I do have a cowboy hat and at least an X-Men shirt on. Not that that was last minute. And then next up is making the first appearance here on Near Mint Condition, but feel like I've known him for a long time, and that is One Wheelchair X.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me, Omar.
Thank you for joining us and telling me that you guys were going to dress up. I really appreciate that. Thanks for the heads up, Wheels. Okay, next up is, oh my gosh, being so extra today, Crisis, a.k.a. doesn't want to be added. There you are.
Hello, sugar.
There's no way that's your hair. Is that your hair? Did you dye your hair?
It's growing out of my head, Omar. Can't you tell how it's growing out of my head?
Nobody dyes hair that quick. Stop it. That's crazy. And of course, my co-host, every one of these Reels talks, last but not least. Look at you. You're like a freaking pro. It's like, and no one bothered to tell me that I could go to the dollar store really quick to go get my. Oh, I do have.
What kind of surprise would it be if we didn't surprise you?
I felt so underdressed. I had to hurry up and switch shirts. No one bothered to tell me.
Listen, I get to be Jean 2 for 2 this week. I think it's a win. Okay.
Yeah. Don't they look great? Let's give them a hands up, everybody. Good job, everybody. Looking great. So obviously they came dressed for a reason, right? We are here to talk about something serious, and that is X-Men 97 Season 2. Now, I don't know how anybody else is on the panel. I know Max likes to watch things. I know that Odfel likes to watch things, but I know. Okay.
I'm so sorry, Omar.
I could have grown my hair out and came as.
I'm not sorry.
No, the culprit.
Odfel and I have been plotting this ever since we did the Map My Scarlet Witch stream, and I'm so happy for it to have finally come to fruition.
That was years ago. You waited for this moment. So I don't know, Wheels, do you watch a lot of television and MCU stuff?
Yeah, I definitely watch a lot of MCU stuff. I mean, literally with X-Men 97, I've been doing weekly live breakdowns. I literally did a live stream 2 hours ago about the final episode. So in terms of X-Men stuff and watching X-Men TV, yeah. I watch a lot. Yeah.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yes, I appreciate. Cheers to the panel and their cosplay. Thank you, Nick. I know Max watches stuff and Oddfell has to for our show, but Crisis is notorious for. I do have a Magneto helmet. Good call, Samantha. I'll be right back. Oh, and actually, Crisis, tell us why you don't watch anything or why you don't like having fun.
Well, I just read a lot of comics, and it's hard to find the time to watch the things and read the comics, but also I love the comics and I have all the comics, and so sometimes I feel like watching adaptations, it's like, is there any benefit really? I just like reading the comics, but X-Men is special to me. I watch it with Kid Crisis. She's always so excited about it, and I usually live watch it with Max, and then I immediately the next day watch Wheels' recap of it. He does, I think, the best recaps of X-Men 97 on YouTube. You all need to get on board so when next year rolls around, you can watch them and you can go back and watch all of them. There's no way we're going to talk about all the Easter eggs today that Wheels addresses every single week in his recaps. So I pretty much just watch it to hang out with that half of the panel. And I was like, oh, and I get to hang out with Odfel. I mean, I see Omar almost too much, but to see Odfel.
It's been a hot minute since I've seen you. I'm like, oh my God.
I know it's been so long. So yeah, I was just excited to come and play. And so I watched it for all of those reasons.
So I look ridiculous. I'm sure I hear an echo in my head.
Oh, so we were complaining that we weren't in cosplay, and now we're complaining that we're in cosplay. Omar.
Magnetomar has arrived. I don't know how long I can wear this. I don't know how he does this. It does get extremely hot. How do you all do this? Also, it's getting in like I feel like these are really sharp. How do people in cosplay do this? You guys are real troopers.
Honestly, I also have that Magneto helmet, and I have like foam in it, so that way it's comfier to wear.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, like couch foam.
Yeah,
We're already sweating.
I don't have. I'm just gonna carry it like this, so I can hear it too.
Just float it.
All right, X-Men 97 season 2. Actually, Crisis reviewed season 1 with us a couple of years ago because that was in 2024, right?
Oh my god, it was that long ago?
That's only 2 years ago, Odfel. That's not that long ago. Long ago was the 1900s.
It feels like a really long time ago because I was like, no, I just did Maddie last. Oh, I didn't do Maddie last year.
Here are our final scores. I apparently liked it more than Amanda and Crisis. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10 for season 1. Max, Oddfell, and Wheels, you guys weren't here, but what would you have given season 1? Just so we can get like a little bit of info before we review season 2.
9.5.
9.5. Great score. Okay. Max, what do you got?
Probably 9. 9.
9, closer to 9. Okay, that's okay. Wheels?
I also think 9. It was really good. There were just a few things that was like stopping it from getting to a 10. But yeah,
okay.
9.
Pacing. Pacing was my biggest beef with season 1.
Pacing was a couple of episodes pretty quick, and that was my big issue with season 1. But the original show also went really quick. So I'm curious what you all think of this season's pacing and how it differs from season 1. So who wants to start with that? What do you think of the pacing of season 2? There were 9 episodes, so 1 less episode, right? Season 1 had 1 more episode, so it's 10 episodes. And season 2 had 9 episodes.
And I think you could somewhat feel it not only because of the lack of the one episode, but because I felt like season 1 had a couple of very specific comic plots that, for those of us who know the comics well, were really familiar. And even if you didn't, they kind of notched together. It was kind of like the Inferno plot into the Genosha plot, into the Bastion plot. And even though there were episodes that weren't themed like that, like we had Life Death, we did the Mojoverse in that same episode, it kind of felt like that was the overall arc of the season. Even though this season had like that overall Gambit death arc, and by the way, we're doing full spoilers. It's a season.
Oh, it's on the title. It's in the title.
Yeah, it's in the title. I don't know that it felt as smooth as that. At the beginning, it was like, oh yeah, we're doing apocalypse stuff. And then in the middle, it felt like it really kind of recessed into doing these quick one-shot episodes that kind of like made it feel a little bit choppy for me. But then at the end, it did keep all its promises and resolve the apocalypse plot.
Okay. You needed more of like Apocalypse recruiting maybe his 4 horsemen or whatever he's doing in the little interludes like we get in the comics, right? Because we were used to those kind of things happening in the comics. Although Valerie Cooper and X Factor, I think, did play a big role in that towards the end, but I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think there were other surprising deaths of a certain incredibly popular character that I was like, oh, it's another horseman. And then when that didn't come to be, I wasn't like I was grading it down for not having another horseman. I was like, oh, I kind of felt like that was going to be plot significant, but I guess not. Like
why introduce her?
Right.
I'm so mad, actually.
Max and I been raging for weeks about it.
That's my favorite X-Men right there.
Right, and she's pretty much only in this to make Colossus feel sad.
Yeah.
And then paint a picture. Are we going to just go through the whole thing like per episode, or you want to?
Well, I wanted to talk about the highlights for you all because there were a total of 9 episodes, right? Like we had Days of Future Past that kicked it off, A Force to Be Reckoned With, the 2-part Rise of Apocalypse, Weapon X Lies and DVDs, Danger.exe, Strangeland, Savage Heart, The Dead Man's Hand, which anybody that has read the comics or anybody that reads comics, and even people that didn't read the comics probably guess what that one was going to be about, and Survival of the Fittest wrapping up this season. Oddfell and I have shared our thoughts on the first 4. What did you all think of the beginning of this season 2?
I thought it was, like looking back at a whole, I thought it was the strongest part of the season. I particularly loved episode 2. I think everything to do with that episode was just really strong, and it actually quite surprised me because I felt like it was the least comics accurate in a way that it wasn't directly pulling from anything particular. But yeah, I thought that was the best episode. Really gave Jubilee some shine. Lovely to see Psylocke and Archangel there as well. So I think episode 2 for me was like the real highlight of those first 4 episodes. But I think overall
Right.
it was just stronger.
And they also that was the episode with the alternate intro, where they
Yes.
also re-recorded the music without synthesizer, but with guitar instead, and that was rad. That was really fun, and I love X-Force, so I'm like, okay, let's go. That's fun.
Okay. What about you, Crisis? What did you think of the first 4 episodes?
I was really feeling the first 4. I think like not only the panel, but I think like everybody on the internet, the X-Force episode just totally shocked me. I mean, watching with Kid Crisis, one of our favorite 90s rock songs is Volcano Girls by Verk Assault. So when that kicked in on Jubilee's headphones, we lost our minds. But not only that, it was like, I think what the show does best, and it did it a few times this season, so I'm not just here to like trash it and be critical Crisis, is it takes characters that, because of the way the comics work, just don't get their main moment because they're always kind of ancillary, and it gave it to them. And I love that episode did that for Jubilee, but I think we actually got several episodes where we kind of got a little bit of a shine on a character who in the comics never is as concisely shined upon. So I had a lot of hope after the first 4, and I was like, oh wow, like where are we going to go? We just resolved all this apocalypse stuff, X-Force is on the table, X Factor's on the table. Like I just had like a lot of optimism after the first 4 episodes, and I was primed.
I loved episode 2. I think episode 2 to me was perfect. 10 out of 10 episode, which I think is why I rated the first 4 episodes a 9 out of 10. I think Odfel, you felt the same, right? Like that one was the best episode.
Yeah, that one was fantastic. I think that is maybe still my favorite. Honestly, I think I like the first half better than the second half of the season.
Okay.
So that might still be my favorite of them.
Yeah, because after that we have the next 5 episodes. So episode 2, yeah, nailed it. Rise of Apocalypse, pretty cool to have it in a 2-parter. Magneto going away, just like Gambit. Really interesting. I guess maybe setting up for some future things. I don't know. What are your thoughts on Magneto, Professor X, Onslaught? I can't believe it.
They are dancing around canonizing so much. They are. It is paper thin. Like every time they're on screen together, I'm like, let's go.
Oh, that aspect. I was talking about Onslaught.
I mean,
Onslaught
maybe they can
canonical.
dance around that too.
It's their canonical psychic love child, so that makes perfect sense. I mean, did you? I guess I was not surprised that they seemingly offed Magneto, because I mean, like Wheels, what I was thinking at the end of that one was like, oh, okay, because Onslaught having reality bending powers is like actually a great way to bring Magneto back in the long run. I don't know. What about you?
I suppose I just saw as soon as Magneto died and the way that Charles reacted to Apocalypse, I was like, well, Onslaught's right there. You see that rage from Xavier that you only really get with Onslaught. So I thought they set the seeds up there. I mean, he had that vision in, I want to say episode 3 with the Onslaught shaped crater in the moon. And then like even in episode 6 when he was like, oh, there was a piece of Magneto inside me, but I can't find it anymore. I thought they were really leading up to that. And even in episode 8, there was like a moment when he turned from Cerebra and the shadow of Magneto's helmet was on his face. So I thought that was like the clear through line. And I honestly thought that maybe Magneto would return as Joseph. I wondered whether Joseph was going to show up at some point in the season, maybe next season. But yeah.
There were so many things, like you read X-Men for so long and you become such a fan that you kind of have these expectations, right? One of them last season for me was, oh, they're going to bring Gambit back, just like a lot of people, I'm sure, as Death. Like if Apocalypse is going to be the big central point of this season because of the tease we had at the end of season 1, episode 10, it's like, okay, that's their way of bringing back Gambit. And I didn't know how I felt about that. I thought it might cheapen his death. I was like, oh, if they get, because he died such a badass way, like one of the greatest deaths in actually comics and in television. So I thought it was perfect the way that he died. So that those were my thoughts on Gambit. What did you all think? I assume everybody here thought the same. They're gonna bring him back because you read enough comics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too. But the show does have a way of like going in exact opposite direction than what I think too. You think you've got it figured out, and what I like about the show is that okay, we're gonna give you enough to make you think it's gonna go that way. Just like this last episode really surprised me where it went, and we can talk about that here in a second. I don't know about the rest of the internet. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I was like, oh, I did not see that coming. I really thought it was going to be this person. Weapon X Lies in DVDs was a follow-up to Weapon X Lies in VHS. Is that right?
Mhm.
I think somebody told me that from the original series.
Yeah.
That might have been my least favorite episode, but it had some of the best moments.
I love that episode.
The best
loved it.
moments.
I thought it was so fun. But I love horror movies, so it's like it was full of references to the Thing and aliens and all kinds of stuff, you know. So I dug that, and I liked it because it was a standalone episode. Because I felt that a lot of the episodes that tied into the overall plot weren't always as strongly connected, so they didn't feel as like aimed or specific as that one.
Crisis, you also love that one?
I did. Max and I were freaking out over it when we were watching it. And I think one of the reasons for me, aside from, of course, it's referring to the classic film Sex, Lies, and Videotape, we all love a non-X-Men Easter egg, but the amount of X-Men Easter eggs in it with all the Weapon X stuff, the origin of the Brood, all the characters they find in the shelf of videotapes, it was like, there's really, in what clean way are you going to do a whole Weapon X saga, right? Like, the animated series has dealt with it before, but how are you going to get us all of that information and give us something satisfying with it? Because we've got to like go to Weapon X. It's like, who are they going to fight that's satisfying? Who are they going to kill that's satisfying? What is Wolverine going to get out of it that's satisfying? And I think that episode, the internet was so soft on it. It got such a low rating. People were critical of it. I was one of those times the Crisis felt like they were taking crazy pills because I was like, I love this because it so elegantly gave us a reason for him to get his adamantium back. It so elegantly gave us the Brood as a villain and connected them to why they would care about Weapon X. And it so elegantly threaded Omega Red back in and like connected them all without making the bad guy Professor Cornelius, which would be like kind of weird and boring. And then the action, I mean, we've seen this, I will say this for this season as my favorite positive. The animation was brilliant. There was so much amazing animation, the action animation, the new character designs, and just like that fight in like the creepy, misty Weapon X, room with there's Brood and then Wolverine with the Brood in him, Wolverine turning into the Brood, like the action figure from Mark Silvestri and Uncanny X-Men, 232 or 233. I mean, it just all for me, I was like, this is what I'm here for. I don't understand the people that didn't like it.
I said it was my least favorite episode. I didn't say I didn't like it.
I didn't like aspects of it. I have the same beef that I have with Inferno, and that's pacing. Like, to me, having like this whole thing with him losing his skeleton and getting it back quite easily within an episode felt a little bit unearned. Like, I wish we would have left maybe a more ambiguous ending to that episode, and then he would have shown back up later in the series with the adamantium to be like, oh my god, he did, okay. Because it just felt kind of like everything about that episode was great, except to me how easily he got the adamantium back. Because that was the one thing where I'm like, it makes it feel really low stakes that Magneto did that now. Like one Black Ops mission and we're back.
That's what he said. Back, baby. All right.
Well, that is right. Every time you see him fight before then, you see him break his claws, but that only happens like twice, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I also think it ties into an issue that they kind of run into with this season especially, where there are just too many characters, basically. And if you want to give them all enough screen time, then that's going to be a 30 episode season. So it's kind of tricky to get that balance, you know.
It's very tricky.
That's how I read it.
The trade-off was I love everything we got with Lady Deathstrike and Morph, and I feel like that was my trade-off for the episode. I was like, I might not be happy with the Wolverine story beat, but I'm very happy with this. And I'm like,
right.
Well, like we haven't really seen him the rest of the season, so sure, Wolverine gets his one-off episode, and we'll skip forward.
What did you think, Wheels, of episode 5?
I enjoyed it, but it might be one of my least favorite as well. But again, I didn't hate it. I'm also not a fan of horror films at all, so there were moments in the episode where I was watching like this. But like, I agree with Odfel. Like, the whole adamantium thing felt so unearned. Like, he'd only appeared in episode 1, and he was only in that episode for like 2 minutes. So there was no ramifications from him losing his adamantium in the first place. We never got to see him become more feral, really. Like, I was really hoping for the no-nose era of Wolverine, at least if only for a second. So it felt like a bit just like, oh, we're not dealing with anything that's happened from the end of last season. It's just being resolved straight away. But I did love all the Morph stuff. I think that this episode was the episode that Morph actually got some character development. They're really sort of a background character the rest of the time. So I appreciated this, like, look into their character and the relationship with Wolverine as well. I thought we'd actually get some ramifications with the fact that they sort of fell out at the end. We didn't get that either. But it was nice. I enjoyed those elements, and I thought it was cool to see Lady Deathstrike and Sabretooth back as well. So it was fun. It just wasn't my favorite, but more because I was just a bit too scared.
I happen to agree with Odfel on this one. It has that very problem that I had with Inferno in the first season. Cool, Weapon X. Okay, I can see where this is going. Oh, the Sleazoids are here. Where did that come from? I will say though, man, it was so cool to see them actually use the Brood properly, because there's no way in hell you could do that in like the Fox cartoon. You know, all the violence and what the Brood can really do and how horrible they are, which is why Wheels had a problem with the episode, because it is a little scary. And like Max said, it is definitely a throwback to The Thing and movies like Alien, which I appreciated. I thought that part was great. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of what's his name, Kane or Maverick. Like, that stuff didn't bother me. I'm sure the 5 Kane fans out there are really upset. Crisis, you seem like you're a Kane type of person. Is that accurate?
I mean, they made him obnoxious enough that I was happy that he was the one that died first. And Maverick often is the sacrificial lamb in many Weapon X stories. So I was like, you know, we're playing by the comic book rules here. Like, these are rules that have been well established. The order of operations here is first Kane's going to get killed and then Maverick. But I agree, like, the Brood stuff was, I mean, it was unsettling, especially for a cartoon and especially with like the amped up level of the animation over the original cartoon. But I even think at points this season, the animation was even more stunning than last season.
Yeah.
I just was like, the Brood was legit scary, like scarier than some of the horror movie influences it was checking, because it was just so like visceral and creepy in this toyetic world to see the Brood that like scary and menacing and xenomorphic.
And I think that's where they would have benefited from one extra episode. Keep this one Brood centric, and I would have been okay with another Weapon X episode. Putting them together almost felt like number crunching. We can only do so many episodes this season. What are the 2 storylines we can put together that we can fly through? Which again, it's not a huge complaint. I still thought it was a great episode, but out of the season, I think it's my least favorite. A lot of fun, a lot of Easter eggs for sure. Speaking of Easter eggs, did anybody catch that amazing Marvel vs. Capcom Easter egg with Psylocke, her stance? I think it happened in episode. I think it was in the previous episode, episode 8, right? Wheels? Yeah, you look
at
like
the very end. At the very end, when they meet X Factor.
Somebody was talking about doing the DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and that's what I was doing. I was telling Melanie, I'm like, oh, it's the stance for Marvel vs. Capcom. You already know, she did it. I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome.
Well, I mean, talking about Easter eggs, before we end on this episode, they show the shelf of all of the DVDs, of all of the training, of all the X, and it is not just your typical list of Weapon X people. There's a couple deep Easter egg cuts on that list.
Yes, absolutely. I feel the same way when looking at that list, because, you know, whenever you were reading the comic books, like the whole Shiva scenario, in the 90s, it was all this mystery. Who was Wolverine? Ooh, we're finally getting a little bit about him with Weapon X. Ooh, holy crap, Larry Hama's actually exploring it, and he's allowed to explore it with this whole Shiva scenario storyline. So we were like, who's Wildcat? Who's Mastodon? Who's John Wraith? Who are these people? That eventually editorial was like, doesn't matter. We're going to move on. Here's Wolverine, crappy-ass origin. And that's the new secret that we've been holding back from you. Because it was nice to see that in the cartoon, so people can be asking the same questions.
And I mean, the list was characters. X-23, Ajax, Aurora, Phantom X, Silver Fox, just mysteriously number 18, Cyborg, Mastodon, Winter Soldier, Weapon 6, Ant, Garrison Kane, Sabretooth, Agent Zero, Kimura, Worm, Sluggo, Kestrel, and then the last one, I forget what we decided on the internet. It had an M in it, and I feel like people decided it could have been like Marrow or something like that.
Mastodon, baby.
Mastodon.
Ah,
Who I had to look up and remind myself is not the same character as Memomax. Two different characters.
no, two different characters. Mastodon never ever appeared. I think that was the only time, because I'm sure they were like, "What a stupid name! What are we gonna make this character?" I haven't watched any of the season. I just had to drop in to see Crisis, who looks fantastic. Somebody call a plumber with that. I also have to give props to the voice actor that does Cable's voice.
Yeah.
It legit sounds like Brolin. Like legit. I had to like look it up. I'm like, is it Brolin? No, it's not. Man, he did a good job.
If I remember right, it's the original voice of Gambit.
Oh, really? He's the one that's doing that?
I'm pretty sure, because I'm pretty sure he was like, he wasn't able to do that vocal range anymore. I think.
I want to say Cyclops, not to contradict you, but I want to say it was actually the original voice actor for Cyclops. But I might also be wrong. But it definitely is an original voice actor.
I thought he had died. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
Maybe it is Gambit. Maybe it is, but I'm sure. I don't know. Maybe it is. It
No,
was.
it's okay.
I don't
Go
know.
ahead.
That's what I thought. I was like, oh, it makes sense if it was the original Cyclops actor, but it maybe is the Gambit one.
He is the original
So-
Gambit.
Oh,
Original
there you
Gambit.
Okay, yeah, because the Cyclops
Yeah,
voice, the
Cyclops
original voice
guy.
actor had passed away, I
Oh.
think.
Mhm.
Just like I think the original voice actor that did the. Oh no, it was Cyclops, wasn't it? Last time on X-Men, right? It was that guy. Yeah, that's a
I
shame.
remember.
But I mean,
That's-
especially seeing the tease of Winter Soldier in there, which I love. I love tying Captain America to Weapon X. It's kind of like between that, the Celestial, Rama Tut, it almost feels like, could we get a second Marvel animation show set in this universe? Like,
Well, with that,
there's
little
always
cameo.
been other Marvel characters in the X-Men 97 universe, but it just feels like this season gave us an awful lot of plot hooks that we could explore outside of the realm of X-Men.
Getting
Right.
tapped twice between both seasons, and
Yeah.
then short-haired Black Widow makes me like
Yes.
crave like a good like 90s Avengers show that's just separate from the MCU.
Well, not to jump ahead into episode 9, but that 90s design for Doc Ock, I was thinking, oh man, just give me that Spider-Man. Like, I didn't even like the show, just like I really didn't like X-Men, the original animated series, that much. Less so Spider-Man, but I would be all over a Spider-Man cartoon if it was like this. I would have oh man, it would be great. But anyway, that is episode 5, and then we get to episode 6. Episode 6 is the Danger.exe, which some of us probably knew what that was, because that is a story arc in the Astonishing X-Men, with the Danger Room coming to life, but also showcasing Polaris ending up joining the X-Men, which she is not bogged down by bad writers or bad history. So I'm sure for the show it was a lot easier to write her character than in the comics, especially nowadays. I've only seen a handful of writers that can take on Polaris and handle her well. Everybody else just kind of writes her like Malice is still in control of her, like she's crazy. And that's in the comics, of course.
Yeah, or kind of like watered down Jean, like as if just because Havoc is watered down Cyclops sometimes, that like Polaris has to be watered down Jean. She has her own, well, I mean, we'll get into it, but I probably, if my number one favorite thing about the season was Jubilee, my number 2 favorite thing about the season was absolutely Polaris, just not just the beautiful hair, but just geeking out over that she had a personality. Like,
Yeah.
she was dimensional. She was a real character. And I was like, how many different runs of comics, if even one, other than Peter David's original X Factor, can you name where Polaris had that much dimension as a character?
No,
I can't.
It was
No,
the thing I really like about this episode too is I feel like even though it was supposed to be, about like the Danger saga, we got to see how Magneto impacted 2 people very oppositely. And it really made me think we were going to get something like Omar was saying earlier about either Joseph or like Zorn or something. But I kind of like that they've just let that lie and let like the impact of Magneto just be something that's there without resurrecting him or anything, because this episode really leaves Magneto's footprint.
This episode also ends on the cliffhanger with the tomb, right, and the card, and then the Watcher looking in the background. And we all know that the Watcher only appears when big things are happening in the MCU. But yeah, this episode was great. I really liked it, mainly because of the whole Polaris thing. I really liked the way that she was treated and written in this season. So I can't wait to see her in season 3. I assume season 3 is already in the works.
It's already done. It's already ready for next year. So
really?
It's already all filmed, everything apparently. So
and season 4 confirmed for the year after. So this train is going to keep on rolling at least 2 more years.
Do we know how long season 3 is? Because my biggest thing is like I hope there's more episodes because I think this season benefited from like 12 episodes.
Yeah, I think a longer 10 I would have been fine with 10 episodes, just splitting up those two story arcs. And like Crisis State, it maybe giving us some more hints of Apocalypse is coming to kind of tie it in. Although I don't know. I feel like maybe on a television show, it's only 9 episodes. Is that really spoon feeding the audience? And don't forget, Apocalypse is coming. Don't forget, Apocalypse will be showing up at the end. We know. I do love all the ties to the Celestials, by the way. I forgot to mention that with Ship and everything that we have thought of when reading the original comics.
Well, on Danger EXE for Max and Wheels, like you're both people who know Astonishing X-Men really well. How does that, in the scope of reading the comic books, of course, it's impossible to separate that from we've come from the whole Grant Morrison run. We've already had a whole arc of Astonishing X-Men and without Xavier really present. And then we go into Danger as an arc. So how did it land for you kind of divorced from all that context and like speed run as that whole Joss Whedon, John Cassaday arc in one episode?
Well, because it was like so sped up and stripped from context, it just kind of seemed like the Danger Room was sick of Xavier mourning his boyfriend and then just took a stance, which I thought, it's fair, but it lacks a certain emotional depth.
I really appreciated, one of the things I love about the show is the way that it does like adapt comic storylines and like reimagines them for the context of this universe. So I loved all the different references it does pull from that direct Dangerous arc from Astonishing X-Men. So we had the bit with the Danger Room coming into the main hall, even though I'm mad that Emma wasn't there and Charles stole that from Emma. But and then there were all the different things with what Danger was looking like. There was the bit where she had the butterfly wings, the bit where she had the disco ball thing to reflect Cyclops' optic blast, things like that. So I appreciated those moments, and I understood why they adapted her storyline to be more that she was just taking on that Charles felt like a failure and that she was going to be the one to make him stronger. But I miss the more violent Danger that we got in Astonishing. Like when Wing was still alive, I was like, what is this? It needs to be a bit more violent. But I basically enjoyed the episode a lot. And I think the way they incorporated Polaris as well, instead of in that like Kitty Pryde sort of role, was enjoyable. And I enjoyed the way that also incorporated stuff from New X-Men, like that one issue where Polaris is on Genosha. It had some references to that as well. So I appreciated the way it sort of combined that all together for that episode.
Yeah, I would also say that Polaris is probably one of the few characters that actually had like a character arc during the entire season.
She's no longer Havoc's crazy girlfriend, which is nice for a change.
Right. Because Havoc kind of sucks. And basically their only relationship in this thing was that they're pretty much immediately like, yeah, I'm not cool with this team, I'm gonna go. And then she just became part of my new, what do you call it, a couple that you ship, call them bipolaris.
Bipolaris,
I love them.
Couple that you ship. I think Jubilee said it best when describing Havoc. What did she call him? Timu Cyclops? Something like that in episode 2. I thought that was a brilliant way of
Which is funny because they don't even know they're related in the show. So like that's just a complete like stray. Like,
maybe it's because they're both leaders and she's just putting all mutant leaders together. Maybe. Uh,
I also just find it interesting because I think this is one of the first times we truly get, at least for me, in animation sake, a Polaris story that's devoid of the Maximoff twins completely.
Yeah.
Mm.
Which is very nice.
I thought they were actually. He is the only member of X Factor that didn't show up. Was Pietro, right? Like everybody else showed up.
Both of them are off-world, whatever that means.
Although Siren did show up out of almost nowhere.
I know.
missed that. Like, where
On the
did she
wrong
even?
team as well.
Did she even speak? I don't remember her even speaking. I think she just
emits a
just
high pitch.
screams.
I can't even squeak.
I wonder if they hired a voice actress.
I saw her in that jet, and I'm like, if this isn't Siren. And then the second she flew out, I was like, let's go.
So I'm trying to think of other Easter eggs that I noticed in episode 6. Because like every episode seems to have some kind of Easter egg. Some of them are in your face, and some of them are a little more subtle. I will say, definitely fans of video games, the animators and the writers, and fans of like anime as well. When we get to talk about episode 8,
Yes.
because holy crap, that was amazing. But we're not there yet, and I cannot remember if there's anything else in episode 6 to talk about. One thing that Wheels pointed out, though, is that is almost the beauty of books, right, compared to movies, and comics compared to the TV shows and movies, is you get so much more in the comics because you have issues to build. Well, you used to before they were canceled after 5 or 10 issues. But anyway, you have so much time to have character development and sneaking a couple plot points and little hints as to what's to come in the future. So with that Danger arc, yeah, it was really creepy because characters were dying, and when you find out who is behind that, you're like, oh shit, this thing knows how to take out the X-Men. Whereas in this show, it's like, oh, that almost came out of nowhere, but cool. I do like Danger. So I get what you're saying. Absolutely. Okay. So episode 7 is Strange Land, Savage Heart. And this is the Acolytes episode. Who had a lot of fun pointing at the TV going, oh, it's Senyaka! Woohoo! Just as important as he was in the comics.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I mean, it felt like, because this to me, much like the X-Force episode, balanced what I think the show does really well, which is merging a couple of different comic plots in like a not 100% recognizable way, and then also Easter egging a bunch of stuff just to make the people who know the comics feel like there's a lot more depth. And I felt like maybe my problem with the Danger episode, which was, I was about to say my least favorite of the season, but no, there's another one coming, was that it was such a recognizable comic arc, and there was like no twist you can add to it, because those of us who know the comics were like, well, we're just adapting this arc pretty much with some added Polaris stuff. Whereas this one, Strange Land, Savage Heart, like the X-Men have been to the Savage Land many times. It was adapting times that they've interacted with the Acolytes, although some of those were Asteroid M stories. It showed us Colossus with the Acolytes, which brings in a whole raft of stories from the 90s. It puts Creed on trial with the Acolytes, which is like, but with Nightcrawler as his defense. I mean, there were just so many layers of different 90s things that got remixed into it that it still felt like new, and there were new things to discover about it. And I really thought that Exodus was like really fun and like menacing. And I love Exodus, one of my favorite X-Men villains. So plus great development for Polaris and the beginning of Bipolar, our favorite ship of Bishop and Polaris. So, I mean, that was probably my favorite episode in the back half. I think I liked it even more than the Weapon X one.
Were you shocked at the treatment of Exodus at the end?
Yeah, and I was raging a little bit, but like we can't have the full respect of every single character I'm obsessed with in every single episode. But I was more shocked that they just killed off Magic for no reason.
I was like,
yeah, I thought it was because you all did too, right? Oh, obviously she's gonna
Horseman.
be I'm
sure I could go back to my chat with Max and just find me saying Horseman in all caps to Max.
I truly thought we were gonna see Banshee return. I thought, oh, the only reason they're killing Magic is also to be a horseman, like Copium. Nothing I think made me more irate then like Colossus being like, you didn't convince me, but you would have convinced Ileana. And I'm like, no, she would have capped him. She would have capped him instantly. Are you kidding me? I was like, girl, it made me so mad too, because like in season 1, we established when we're transformed into them that like she's already had her dark child arc. So I'm like, I don't know. It made me I'm cranky about it. This episode, I think a lot of my downside is I was just mad about Ileana the whole time. It was cool seeing Exodus, but I was just kind of sitting there like.
Right. So I really like this episode because Nightcrawler is one of my favorite characters. So he's like Nightcrawler. I'm like on my amp at all times. I like him. So from that, I really enjoyed it. But I'm also a massive Magic fan. So I was like, well, this kind of sucks. I hope she gets like revived or whatever, resurrected soon. Because like in the first episode, you have pretty deep cuts of Horsemen from Apocalypse that doesn't really get explained at all. So I figured, okay, well later on in the season they'll like get into that and then bring on new Horsemen, which could be all the ones that died. And well, I mean, spoilers for the other episodes that we're gonna discuss, they don't. So that felt like a bit of a letdown. Exodus wasn't French enough. And I did think
French. He was. I mean, he had like a little hint of a French accent on certain words, but I'm like, Gambit's more French.
Yeah, that was a British man.
I will say the thing, because characters keep getting killed off, I did genuinely feel concern for Nightcrawler and stuff when they were fighting, because I was like, well, he could die. And spoilers, well, kind of later on sucks.
I think it's another one of those things that the show does constantly. Because you're a comic book reader, you've got it figured out. They've killed Magneto. They've killed Gambit. They've killed Magic. Holy shit, we're looking at the lineup of the 4 Horsemen. Fight. No, we're not. And I think I got to give it to the show for that, because it keeps doing it. It keeps pulling that rug underneath my feet. And yeah, it does aggravate me sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's its own thing. So I'm okay. Magic doesn't have to be cool in every universe, like Marvel Rivals or the comics these days. If they kill her, sure, there's already so many characters. I really like what they're doing with Polaris and Jubilee, and I hope they do that with lesser known characters later on. Give me some Armor, give me Surge. Oh my god, give me some of those characters and give them a moment to shine. Magic has her moments. She already has her fan followings. Killing her didn't bother me that much.
The thing about Magic's death that bothered me is more like how she died. If she'd have died mid-battle fighting the Sentinel or whatever, but she just stood there and let it happen, which I'm just like, unless we're gonna delve into that as a reason to why she would do that, they didn't. So I'm just like, well, she just stood there to die. That was what bothered me most, because I thought I understood why they did it. Obviously, that was Colossus' whole motivation in the 90s, but like, yeah. So that was the thing that bothered me about Magic's thing. The rest of the episode, though, I enjoyed, and I think I enjoy it more now, understanding how it links to the final episode, because it really was focusing on Nightcrawler and his love for the rest of his family, whether they love him or not, and about his faith. So I think it really, looking back, I appreciate the episode more because it does link to episode 9 much more. I loved all the Acolyte references and the way it sort of adapted. I was about like the trial of Neophyte, and then I can't believe they did like the trial of Gambit leaving in Antarctica thing as well. That was a real shock to me. I was like, oh my god, you're taking like Gambit's best moments and giving them to Graydon Creed. That's crazy. But yeah, so I overall enjoyed the episode, and I think I actually appreciate it more post episode 9, because I think it makes more sense in the continuity of everything, to be fair.
I also like that every episode has an updated title card
sequence.
Yes. That's so cool. That's so cool. I still think Forge looks the coolest, although Sunspot kind of killed it in the episode 9.
I love getting to see his X-Force outfit. It's such a good one, and his title card is so dope.
Yes, yeah, I do love that outfit. That was designed by Greg Capullo. Speaking of outfits, what did you all think of the leather jacket Morrison era X-Men outfits that debuted in the cartoon for the first time?
I mean, it was really fun to see them adapted to characters who we never really got to see that often in the Morrison stuff. You know, it's fun to see Rogue and Nightcrawler. I mean, I was trying to remember, did we ever see them wear that stuff in Extreme X-Men at the time? But again, that's why I really like that episode, even though the magic thing was a big bummer at the beginning, because it synthesized things. And that to me is the power of the cartoon, which is that like you can do things with the kind of singular vision of let's put a season together and all these influences make sense at once. Like if you sorry to take us off the costumes and we could react to costumes too, but I just feel like having just read all of that 90s sequence and now I'm finally past Onslaught with Kid Crisis, the Graydon Creed stuff never has time to like simmer in a whole kind of locked box like they were in that episode, you know, arguing over how bad it is for him to be who he is given who his parentage were. And so and I just feel like I was like, wow, this is actually way more rewarding than any Graydon Creed story they were able to like tie up in a bundle. He should be put on trial by the acolytes because it's kind of like blood against blood against blood. It's like Magneto's like adopted family, the extended Mystique and Sabretooth clan, Colossus and Ileana. Like I just found Polaris there as Magneto's daughter. I just found it very clever.
I think the best character this season, I thought it was going to be Jubilee. I think she's one of the best written characters. But Nightcrawler really stole the show for me. And I don't know if that's because it's the Catholic in me. I don't know if it's like, man, it's so cool to see him wear the collar under his outfit and sticking to those values and those beliefs. And then telling, you know, Graydon, like teaching almost like fucking Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood kind of lessons that you don't hate mutants. You really hate the mutants that left you, your parents, right? I don't think that stuck with Graydon, but I thought that was a really powerful message about where hate comes from and moments like that don't exist in the comic books, right? Because Graydon was just a plot device that later on the editors were like, oh shit, we forgot about this guy. What are we going to do with him? Let's kill him and make it a crossover.
Yeah.
But that's comics for you. Whereas this, I was like, oh, that is a really cool way to show that side of Nightcrawler. That it's not just part of the costume, that he actually believes in all of this and faith, which again comes to play later on.
I truly feel like between the two seasons, he has had continually the strongest writing in every episode he's been a part of. Like whoever is like in charge of his writing is doing a phenomenal job between these two seasons.
And his accent is so good. I don't know if that's a real German person doing his accent, but it's so good. It's so good.
And I also think he had the coolest action scenes, to be fair, like that in episode 7 when he's doing the fight with the duel with Exodus and they're teleporting around the place. I thought that was so cool.
Yo, dude, straight up Dragon Ball Z teleporting BS that I love. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. The point of view of his fist just kicking the crap out of all the X-Men. It definitely, to me, I thought season 1 fight with Nightcrawler and the 3 swords with Wolverine was amazing. I think this tops it. That was straight up anime, like fueled, man. I love that. That was so awesome. No, I'm cosplaying as Magnetomar. Thank you. It's just a little hard to hear me, which is why I have to take my helmet off. But I'm just a hot Magnetomar right now without the helmet.
Also, I think because we all know how one of the canonical deaths of Nightcrawler in comics involves him teleporting in the middle of the fight. Anytime he started to be badass and teleport, I was like, so like that was a really nice head fake at the end, you know, like the thing we didn't expect with Nightcrawler, because every time he was in a fight, I was in my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like I mentioned, because characters keep getting killed off. Whenever there's a battle or whatever, it feels like there's genuine stakes, you know.
And I think I appreciated that about this season. I don't know if they'll bring any of the characters back next season besides Magneto. But I did appreciate that. And yeah, best fight sequence by far was that fight with Nightcrawler. That was awesome. And it was just cool that they pulled it off. Which makes it the beauty of animation. Like, I think that stuff is kind of hard to pull off in a live action movie. So by the end of this, we get the cliffhanger of like, oh, well, maybe Gambit is totally back with it, but now he looks different, which leads us into episode 8, The Dead Man's Hand. And that is where Rogue's waking up from a nightmare and wearing that same dress that she did in Genosha, right? Which that's the X-Men 5 dress, right? When they went on a date from X-Men number 5. I
Yeah.
think, right? Yeah. And as it turns out, yeah, Gambit is back. But it is different. It's not a Horseman of Apocalypse. How would you describe this Gambit, Crisis?
I hated this episode. It's definitely my least favorite episode of
Not the
both
question I asked, but go ahead.
season. I'm getting there. I just thought it was absolutely pointless. Like, you're gonna make Gambit death, and his plot is like he's gonna brainwash his ex-wife to kidnap his lover. To it just was there was no. I just didn't think there was a solid thread to Gambit and how Death Gambit was or wasn't different from Apocalypse. Like, it kind of was like, oh, okay, so he's Apocalypse's agent, but then he had to do this thing with Rogue, but then also that was going to allow him to become Apocalypse. And I think because there was this, I don't think that the writers were totally sure about what the difference was between Apocalypse's death and Gambapocalypse, and because of that, his motivation seemed like really unclear. His powers were unclear. And the story, it just seemed like an excuse for several different fight scenes. I don't know. It just, I really, really was challenged and upset by it. Because I was like, what are we doing here? We built up Gambit for 7 episodes and this was your plan?
What was even the point of the external gem? Because to me, like, that did nothing for Rogue. Like, she never uses it. She never really does anything with it. She doesn't get a visual change. She doesn't really get a power set change. It's just kind of there to be ripped out later, at least from what I was picking up.
Right.
I mean, I guess it gave her the power to like break up, like free Gambit for Apocalypse, but that was only for what, like a day? I don't know how. Like, I guess it didn't really give that much, but I don't know. I enjoyed some elements of the episode. I think it was odd though that Gambit, and this carries on in episode 9, that he's basically Cyclops in the 12. Like, that's essentially what they were doing. Instead of Gambit being Death, it was Apocalypse living within Gambit. I didn't mind the like whole mind control stuff though, because I'm pretty sure in the comics there's like in X-Men Hellbound during Second Coming, he like his death corruption spreads and North Star and Dazzler become fellow Death people. So I didn't mind that. Yeah, it did start to feel like we were going off the rails a bit though in terms of plot. I think we were losing it slightly, but I still had my moments. And I think introducing Kandra again in this like interesting like she was taking the role of Genesis from the Krakoa stuff in a way, and they had the like her gem, which is where she puts her soul. I enjoyed those elements as well. I just don't know if it came together in the best way, but there was stuff I enjoyed.
Oh, I think y'all are crazy. I loved it. I thought the comic mystical side of things, whatever. It's like comic book science. I don't need it over explained. I can just go along for the ride and have fun. Dude, when he turned his bow staff into a sky, that was so badass. That was cool, man. I'm not even a Gambit fan, and I was like, yo, that's awesome. The whole thing with Kandra surprised me. But again, it's a show that I'm like, oh, he's just gonna kill her. Okay. I didn't see that coming. The stone, the jewel, I just thought it was a plot device to get her, you know, like, hey, you're going to become immortal because I can't die. And now you can't die. So it's one of those, will she, won't she? Like, Rogue's a good guy. She can't take the jewel, but she loves Remy. Maybe she will, even though he's like Death. I was okay with that. It was just showing the type of character that she is. But I really like how it changed it, because I was expecting things to happen because of the comics with the 4 horsemen in a fight and resurrections. And I think not being surprised that it happened another way, I was okay with, which is weird because this is the same reason I don't like Star Wars, The Last Jedi, because it went in different ways than I was expecting it to go. But for this, I think I forgive it. I was okay with that. A lot of it was irrelevant. Like a lot of the things that they were kind of making you think, oh, that's the way we're gonna go with it, where turned out to be irrelevant, which is what the show has been doing since season 1.
I just think I wanted more from it. Like, it felt like there was no stakes to her caving to Gambit because she just wanted him to be back so bad, like literally at all. Because that was my whole thing, is I'm like, the build up to it I was fine with, like him being like actually part of Apocalypse I was fine with. It just felt like their like wedding ceremony, there was no actual like negative effect to Rogue almost turning evil. Like there's really no, like the next episode we just kind of pretend like that didn't happen for the most part. And she's like, well, I gotta find a way to get him out of the coma. Like I just kind of wanted there to be like a shoe drop moment at all to that. I don't know. It just like it felt kind of hollow to me. I wanted to like it more than I did because it was a very visually pretty episode.
I think they needed a reason to make you think one of them is definitely not going to make it in the next episode. And the way to do that is to put Apocalypse inside of Gambit in a ridiculous mystical way, and the two have to be separated. And we can save Gambit, but we can only do it this way. So when episode 9 opens up, I was like, oh shit, they're really gonna kill Rogue and not Gambit, so Gambit can live. Like that's where I thought it was going. But I was trying to think of some Easter eggs that showed up in episode 8. I mean, there were a lot of things. Like I don't do tarot cards, so I had to look up what the tower meant. The tower card at the end.
Oh.
Did you all know? Odfel, did you know what it meant?
Yeah, I like tarot though.
Okay.
The tower is pretty, I feel like, well used in a lot of fantasy genre stuff because it's just kind of like the doomed card without being the hangman and on the nose, like it's betrayal.
Okay. So that kind of set up where the next episode was going to go. And of course, Cable being left behind and X Factor showing up with Valerie Cooper, who almost plays like a role of Henry Gyrick in this with her glasses and everything.
I fully thought that was going to be Mystique as well. I mean, I know.
No, but
how did she get into that like warehouse without Cable or Psylocke recognizing her that she was there? That was what was like. Surely she was like in the dark. I was like, surely this must be like Mystique in disguise, but apparently not. So,
yeah, it felt like all indications were pointing towards that she was already Mystique.
Yeah.
Which is what made, now that we're getting towards episode 9, which made that final after credit scene so puzzling to me, because I was like, hasn't she been Mystique? Like, if there's anybody who was the villain of the season, it was kind of Val, and she's like efficiently minded, and she's, she cares about all of the United States. She's not anti-mutant or pro-mutant, or anything like that, but just a lot of her decisions in the season came off as very like, wow, there's a very villainous tone or intent to this. So I was kind of assuming she would have, and then because of the thing you just said, Wheels, that she kind of like appears a couple of times, so I was kind of assuming she was already Mystique.
I think that's what they wanted you to assume.
Yeah, but then, we'll get to it.
So episode 9.
But we don't have confirmation that it was the same Fel in every scene.
That's true. There could have been other Vals, and she could have been playing a long game that we just see come to a culmination in that after credits.
Because I feel like I've been blowing the dog whistle of her being Mystique. Like season 1, when she like walked in on the Bastion stuff with like Magneto, I was like, this has to be right. This has to be. And again, several times this season. So I'm like, it'll be interesting to see how they play it out. Like, has that been Val up till this point? Is there more than one Val? What's going on? Because she's been weirdly perceptive in where she needs to be 2 seasons running now.
Right. I will say, like, regarding the constant subverting of expectation and everything, it kind of makes everything feel even more pointless and rushed, because even like in the episodes 3 and 4, you're like, okay, well, we're kind of wasting time by having very slow moments because we only have a couple of episodes, and then everything else feels very rushed. If you then have a lot of setup that ultimately proves to be pointless, then it feels like we've wasted even more time and we only have a very small amount of it. That's how it made me feel at the end, anyway. Because, like I mentioned, the Horsemen not being paid off. I mean, we're expecting it because we've read the material, but if you're not familiar with it, you're just like, well, who were those freaks in the first episode then? Why was the guy carrying a drum? What is happening? Why are my favorite characters dead? Right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think this is where, I want to bring up a little bit of the elephant of the room about this season, that Beau DeMayo still has a writing credit on these, but we know he was out as an executive producer. And when I think of shows that have a very singular approval person, even if there's a writing room, even if there's other people contributing, when you think about those kinds of shows, they have a very singular feel to them because there's one person who's not only managing all of the fine details right until the episode gets locked, like the final voiceover cut, like, the final everything, but then that person kind of has a forward vision of like, oh, I know where I'm going to make each episode wind up, so I'm going to make these things click. I think the one person I always think of, I'm sure somebody will think of his name before me, is the showrunner of Breaking Bad and the new show Pluribus, right? That's the
Vince,
same showrunner.
Gillen.
What is his name?
Vince Gillen or Gilligan? Something.
Yeah. He works with other people, but Vince Gilligan, who, by the way, comes from the writer's room at X-Files, which I think a lot of them went on to do a lot of things of that nature, really has full control. And so if you go back and examine each episode of Breaking Bad or Pluribus, you like really see something like, oh, that did wind up mattering later. And I feel like rewatching season 1 of this X-Men 97 is so rewarding because Beau DeMayo, who knows what he did behind the scenes, who knows how problematic he is. I'm not trying to excuse whatever his behavior was or lament his absence from that perspective. But I'm saying, like, you could feel him making sure that all of those little things paid off so that when you went back and watched the whole season, you were like, oh, it all makes sense. All the Easter eggs make sense. All the moments made sense. This season to me felt much more like a season of TV that, got splintered up across different writers in the writer's room when they broke the season. And so it didn't feel like the episodes like duetted with each other in the same way. And that's not to say that it can't be good and the only good TV shows come from singular, monolithic creators. But I definitely felt that was the key difference in this season to season 1 to me, that it just felt like 9 individual episodes pilfering X-Men stories. And it didn't feel like one big unified arc. And I think for me personally, it might have been his absence. I don't know. Am I crazy? Am I reading too much into it?
Those are two different questions.
Well,
Hands like them,
piggyback-
am I crazy? And then am I reading too much into it?
like, to piggyback on what you're saying, like, to me, this episode really, or this season really almost felt like a filler piece. Like, they had a story they wanted to tell in season 1, and they have a story they want to tell in season 3. And they were like, okay, but how do we fill this out and set up? And it really feels like, when you actually look at it at the end of the day, almost nothing happens. There's not actually a lot of things that affect the world state that happen going into season 3. And it kind of just felt like this was a vehicle to get us to season 3 more than it felt like this was an arc that was satisfying to watch a lot of the time. And I hope they stick that landing with the next season, but I just kind of felt like, okay, like, there's so many open threads where I'm like, well, I hope we touch back on this. I hope we see this, but I know it's not going to be this season. That it just made me feel like it was almost a stepping stone season.
Would it have made you feel better if it was called season 2 part 1? Because I hate when TV shows do that, but I understand why they do it. Go ahead.
I just think it needed more episodes to either repace itself or end at a different point, because it really just, to me, doesn't feel complete. And I don't know if it's because it's building up to something big in season 3 or if it's because, I don't know. But I agree. This season is much more disjointed than season 1.
I haven't rewatched season 1, and I should have before watching this season. But I do remember even in season 1, it had some issues with, this has absolutely nothing to do with the main story arc, like the Mojo episode. Other than feeding fans of, what was that story called? The Crunch, right? Like the Wolverine, the Crunch. And I thought this season had a couple of more of those, like with the Weapon X episode and the Polaris episode, but I was still okay with it. I really thought the bridge of everything was Kurt and Faith. and how far you are willing to go for love. I thought that's what the buildup had been for this. I don't really need a big bad guy. I did not need an apocalypse at the end. I'm glad it was brought up. I was okay with it ending the way that it did. I wish we would have gotten some kind of like, oh no, Kurt is dead, let's bury our friend or something at the end. But instead, the after credit was a nod to the comics again with that whole Valerie and Mystique. I feel cheated. It wasn't an X-Men win. It was a Celestial bargain.
Well, let's get into it, right? So
Yeah.
Dude, it's hard to talk with I hear myself, so it sounds like an echo. Plus, I need padding. These things are cutting into my face. Respect the cosplayers. I don't know how they do this. All right.
Oh, I'm in the level of pain that I'm in right now, Odfel. Like, we had a conversation about all of this artistry earlier.
This is amazing.
It hurts so bad.
Oh, if you think I didn't have a Midol before putting the wig on,
Oh, you need to tell me these things.
anytime there's a wig, I'm like in Advil now.
Yeah. Okay. Noted for next time.
The wig cap wig combo always.
Oh. Okay. Not alone.
You're not alone. I'm screaming inside.
Okay.
So what's the showrunner? The What If showrunner? Sorry, I can't do it. I can't. It looks like an
The
echo.
showrunner now is the What If. Is one of the What If writers.
season
They
2.
sort of took over. Yeah, they took over from Bo DeMeo stuff. I think as well. We were talking about when I think episode 9 is the only episode which Bo DeMeo is not credited on as a writer at all. I think.
I think
Looking at the
no,
credits.
he's also not credited as writer on episode 5.
Oh, right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
Wait.
I know what you're
And
saying.
episode
about,
1 and 2, apparently.
like one person bringing it all together, because I always think of is it Alan Ball, the gentleman that did Pushing Daisies? He was a big 6 feet under. But he was who is the guy that Brian Fuller? Yeah, Brian Fuller, Pushing Daisies, left Heroes season 1 to go do Pushing Daisies, and Heroes went to shit with season 2.
Remember vividly.
And I thought, oh no, I really like X-Men 97. I hope it does not go to shit with Bo leaving. I don't know what he did, or I don't know why he got fired or let go. I don't know any of that. I'm just talking about logically. I'm an X-Men fan and I wanted to succeed. So I wanted the show to keep that momentum going, even with a new head writer. So if it's true, if he did leave and had nothing to do with this season other than probably writing some of the stuff with other writers, I thought it did a good job keeping the same. I'm not a fan of What If, by the way. I hated What If. I thought What If was a waste of time and money and talent. That's my opinion. I did not like What If, which is why I don't think I've seen Marvel Zombies yet. But I did hear that was better. I was worried they would use the same animation for this show.
I by no means think this was a bad season. It just definitely didn't, I don't think, have the foreshadowing and the oomph and the payoffs that the first one did. So maybe that's something we do see in season 3 once we have a cohesive writing team again that's not in the process of leaving.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I will say, I want to hear Max and Will's opinions. I actually deliberately didn't talk to them too much about this episode, since it was just last night. There were positive aspects of it. Like, I liked them finding Ship in the bottom of the water. I liked Rogue having this experience with a Celestial. I know something I've been talking about a lot online in different places is it's weird to experience the Celestials divorced from the rest of the MCU in terms of Marvel, because they're so connected to galactic stuff. They're so connected to Eternals and Inhumans and everything, that it's weird to kind of have them divorced from all that in X-Men. But I loved that sequence of Rogue in the Infinite White trying to make a Gambit. Really trying to make a Gambit for Gambit's soul. And Omar, I deliberately wanted to talk to you because that felt very anime influenced to me, but I don't have the anime knowledge that maybe you do of her as that tiny speck and that big white expanse and then the giant Celestial. I'm like, I feel like there's a reference here that I'm missing from something.
Yeah,
visually.
so like you heard of God before, like an omnipotent being. Okay, Didn't know if you have or not.
Is
I don't want to
it
get
the
all.
reference to God?
I don't want to get all religious on. No, in all seriousness, yeah, that happens a lot in anime where you have a tiny little. Oh my God, that guy's humongous. This evil final bad guy. How are we gonna beat them? With the power of friendship and love. That's how. Thanks, Kurt. But no, in all seriousness, I thought that scene was great. I love that. I don't recognize that rogue celestial outfit from anything. Anyone like
Well,
maybe
she
it's
was
a Marvel
dressed as
Rivals.
Yeah.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, I
Lucha,
recognize it from
I
DC
thought the
Comics.
same thing.
I had a look, and literally the only things there was that, like, what if Galactus transformed Rogue, and I thought, oh, maybe there's something there, but that doesn't look anything like
No.
it. Or where Rogue absorbed Galactus in the Age of Revelation stuff also didn't look like it. So that was the point where I was like, I'm not sure how to feel about this because this doesn't feel derived from anything. And so I was like, I don't know how I feel about. And this was where I was like, oh, maybe this is like the what if influence. Is this like Celestial Rogue? Because
Maybe, yeah.
it was like not anything I'd seen before, and it just threw me. But I enjoyed her like talking to the Celestial, and the way that like her skin was peeling off. It felt very much like Logan in X-Men: The Last Stand, when he's about to kill Jean. It felt very reminiscent of that. X-Men: The Last Stand aside, but so that was a nice bit. But this is where I thought things were going in a direction that I didn't know what was happening in a way, and that can be good, but also part of me was like thrown because I'm so used to it, like adapting things, and it was like, well, I can't. There's nothing here that's really being adapted anymore. So,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
yeah, like, and there were some things. I think the whole Gambit Apocalypse thing, as I said, it felt very Cyclops at the end of the 12, and then Rogue being the one to pull him out was very much Jean separating Cyclops and the Apocalypse in Search for Cyclops. But yeah, things started to fall apart a bit, and I personally was really hoping that there was going to be a fight between Celestial, Rogue, and Gambit Apocalypse, and there just wasn't. And I felt a bit cheated of like we could have had a bit more of like of like conflict between the two of them, and it felt like it was solved too easily for me anyway. Yeah. I feel like Gambit didn't have enough impact as Apocalypse for me to even be like, he's back to normal now. There wasn't enough like change, if that makes sense. I didn't get to appreciate him as this evil version for me to then appreciate him back to normal by the end, if that makes sense.
I agree, because it felt like a rehash of the previous episode. Like she gets the gem and does that, and then she gets the power up and does that. And it was kind of repetitive, and honestly, like as cool as it was seeing her in that kind of like Eternals-esque constellation outfit, I think I would have rathered her have the visual magical girl change from the crystal with Gambit and a fight after the celestial thing, but maybe she just returns to how she normally looks after the crystal, then like this supercharged like Wonder Woman She-Ra moment for her to really do nothing visual with it. I agree, like some type of fight or some type of like, even if it was on like a psychic field, like she touches him but we get some sort of conflict like on a different plane, like anything to make me feel like, oh man, she's supercharged. I don't know. And
I totally thought as well that this at the end of last episode, Charles was like, we need to rescue Gambit, and I thought they were going to do like a psychic rescue, New X-Men 121 like thing at the beginning with maybe him and Jean, but that went nowhere either. I was like, that would have been so cool to have that while everyone else was fighting X Factor, X Force, but that didn't happen either. And I'm like,
or even like the giant size Jean and Emma issue, but with like Jean and Rogue instead of Jean and Emma and Gambit's head. Like I definitely, and I never just want to talk negatives because I think that's hard to identify with if you found some positives. There were cool things about episode 9. I mean, the whole siege of the X-Corps building was amazing. That sequence that Jubilee has in air, getting rid of the last heat-seeking missile, is probably the second coolest Jubilee scene in all media ever, after the first one being the Volcano Girls roller skate sequence in episode 2. So like, Jubilee, great. Polaris having to face down X Factor and the whole fight sequence with X Factor versus Polaris and Bishop, amazing. Cable with his big giant gun blasting through the entire building,
badass.
And then having like a 5-minute long, at least it felt that long, fight against his mom and dad, where all of them were like as hardcore as we see them. I mean, the whole,
Dude.
I think that's part of why the Rogue thing, like Odfel was just saying, didn't like quite get there, because the whole rest of the episode really felt like most characters got their best action moment of the entire series, which is not to say I needed Rogue to have some big feat. Like, I'm not this like feat person, but it kind of just, and I don't even mention, like, it's not even bothering me that it was the power of love, because I think it was set up to be that all the way from last season, but it just felt like it kind of was like they got right up to the finish line, and it didn't like quite like tear your heart out the way that the episode had been building up to do. Although I will say, when Cable in front of everybody shoots Gambit, first of all, I thought it was going to go through Gambit and hit Professor X and start Executioner's song. So but then I was like, oh, that up until that point, I think I was still like, okay, this is good. And then it kind of was like,
I have been trained by video games and anime that when somebody gets a fucking power up, I better see a final fight with some like energy bolts being thrown. And that was the only thing that I was like, that's not cool. Yeah, I felt like Odfel. I was like, she touched him. That guess that's cool.
I just
Right.
Because everyone really did
like
get their glamour moment that episode. Like, people were doing cool shit like all episode, nonstop.
Oh man, that episode had so many cool fights. Doc Ock Morph was really cool to see.
Oh, that was so cool. Psylocke was that another video game thing when there were like 10 different Psylocks? I feel like that was a reference to a specific.
There was another video game thing in this one. What was it? Oh, I called it. It was somebody, the way somebody was standing, and I thought, oh man, that is straight out of another 2D fighter.
Or maybe it was that Spiral's power in X-Men versus Capcom, where she would do her little thing and there would be like multiple spirals. I just feel like I've seen that and I couldn't place it, but it was very cool. I mean, just that whole fight, Archangel versus Wolverine, and then it was more. I mean, if you're primarily in this for the action, for the animation, for seeing all of your favorite X-Men characters in motion, and you gave it a 10 out of 10, there's no hate in my heart for you. I completely understand why. I love you as a person. I understand you completely. For me, I just was expecting a little bit more from Magical Girl Rogue. And
so
I was one more thing. I'm so sorry. I was expecting, even though I liked that the characters had agency over who ultimately got sacrificed, I was kind of expecting there to be like a little bit of like a Siege Perilous twist of like, you don't always get what you want aspect to it. Like, I was surprised it was so literal that Kurt went in there and sacrificed himself, period. Like, I expected there to be a little bit of a knife twist. Okay, sorry, Max.
Right. So I like pretty much everything about the episode except for the Rogue thing. Because the Rogue thing is just, she goes to the space robot, she gives him the Chaos Emerald, then she meets Gambit, and then she gets the jewel from Titanic, which is basically like her story, which is fine. But I really like seeing Psylocke in action throughout the season, but especially when she tries to scramble Wolverine's brain, and he's all right.
Yes.
Beat you to it. I'm too messed up. I'm immune. I thought that was really cool. Seeing Cable in action was really fun. Also, I didn't say for the previous episode, when everyone turned evil, that was very shocking. I had never seen Scar with red eyes before. Oh, it blew my mind. And this one, I mean, the ending, I never like saw that coming with Kurt. I was so focused on the the Titanic Emerald thing, and then you had the reveal, and I was like, no, it's the only character I cared about in this whole show.
That surprised me, because I thought, oh, she's going to die. Like, as soon as she touches him and he's back and they're together, they kiss, because you don't expect these things to end happy. And she makes a face, and I'm like, oh god, they're gonna kill Rogue in the season. I knew that was gonna happen, and that kind of sucks. But she looks at Hank that's holding the Bible, and I'm like, oh man, that's not cool at all. How? What? And then you get the little flashback of him talking to the Celestial, and yeah, we don't know exactly how though. And
incredible monologue though. I was sobbing.
Yeah, it was sad.
And,
It hit
and
me.
I was like, why do you have that Bible beast? What are you doing with Kurt's Bible? Like I was like interrogating him as he showed up on screen. And then I just in a way, I mean, it was satisfying. And again, I like that Nightcrawler had agency. It wasn't just him teleporting in front of Bastion and getting some, smushed.
Yeah.
I appreciated that, but I just feel like they made such a rich version of Kurt that I just was so sad. Like the monologue he gives to the Celestial, I was like, man, this character was so good. I think one of the greatest pleasures of this season was seeing them find these voices for Polaris and Jubilee and Kurt, and to an extent, let's be honest, Cable, that are so much better than what they usually are in the comics. Although out of the four of them, Kurt certainly has had the most development in the comics, but it just made me reflect, damn, shame to lose this character just when they've created one of the best versions of him that we've ever seen.
Yeah, why couldn't we lose Professor X? That guy sucks.
Well, I mean,
No offense, Max.
To a degree, I feel the same way about Magneto, because the voice they've had on Magneto has been so great. Like the monologue in season 1 of the don't let me disappoint you, the I'm following your dream whole thing with Apocalypse, in the early episodes, powerful death scene, but also part of me is dang, I really liked the voice you had on Magneto and now it's gone. And they've done that a couple times, and I do hope there's kind of this payoff to all of these deaths they're paving their plot with. Because if so, I'm down for it, because they truly are doing good character writing leading up to these deaths.
Yeah, that almost sucks that it's the good writing and the good characters, and then they off them. She didn't die. I thought for a second that she had lost her powers. I did too. There were all these thoughts going through my head a million miles a minute, right? You read enough comics, you play enough video games, you watch enough anime, something bad's going to happen. That's why I was surprised that it was Kurt. Because
I was expecting her to go at the end of Raiders, where the face just kind of melts
melting?
off.
Ouch, melting. I was thinking of
I mean, he did see the flesh and stuff come off as she was punching through the thing, which I thought I wasn't expecting such gore in this animated form.
Yeah, Kurt stole the show this season, and it is nice to see a character like that. I'm trying to think of another animated show that has a religious background meshing with all these other characters, right? And it makes me proud to be an X-Men reader when we have that kind of representation in the cartoon, and because that is the way it is in the comics. All these characters are brought together because they have a common thing, and they're all mutants, but they all come from different backgrounds, and although they don't accept each other at the beginning, not all of them, of course, like Kitty always thinking that Nightcrawler was a demon at first. I love that about the X-Men. And to me, seeing that representation play out and not hiding away from the fact that he is a priest, right? I thought that was really cool to see in a cartoon. Because even in anime, I was thinking of things like, I guess Hellsing, but that's more of a badass priest that's going around hunting vampires and stuff. So it was really cool to see it in an animated show in America.
And I mean, that death as well also completely surprised me. But I will say it feels like probably the most permanent death out of every death we've had, because I feel like it's sort of because he sacrificed himself so that Rogue could live. I feel like if there was any undoing of that, it would also require a sacrifice. I feel like it's now trapped in this thing where if Nightcrawler comes back, someone else has to die as well. So it feels like there's sort of no way you could undo that without breaking the rules of what was established. So I feel like Kurt might be trapped there for a while, at least, which is a bit scary.
I think at this point, with the deaths we've seen, the only way I could see them in mass retcon a lot of them at this point would be through a retelling of M-Day or through a Krakoa plotline. Part of me doesn't want to see them rush for either of those, but I could see them using either one as a catalyst to bring these characters back for a happy ending. because I do think if we get like an M day, I could see them like fixing the world state and suddenly like more of the mutants are back than we left with or something. But I kind of hope we don't get that for a couple seasons because I want to kind of simmer in these losses. Since we had a whole season trying to bring back Gambit, I don't want the next season to be let's bring back these 3 characters. Let's bring back these 3. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I hope so
Well-
either, which was why I was worried about Gambit in this season. But I thought, okay, that trade-off is actually pretty solid. And we don't know where this will lead into the next season. I assume the whole thing with Onslaught, because everybody else seems to think so too. Introduce Wanda as a main character. Remember, House of M, 1 episode, then M Day.
Well, I
That's
mean,
the speed that
if
they
they
do
were to
it.
go that route, you would have to do like House of M. They would have to do all the Messiah stuff, and then that would lead to Krakoa, right?
Well,
There was also
You know, we had Inferno. That didn't have like 30.
Well-
Half the episode was Inferno. They can do whatever they want to.
I guess so. There was something else about the season that I wanted to bring up, and I hope it isn't too boring. You've all seen Buffy, right?
yeah.
Mhm.
yes.
Do you remember the scene where she finds her mom after she like died?
Oh, that was a rough scene.
Yes.
Written
Do you
based on-
remember?
Happened in Joss Whedon's life, like finding a family member like that.
Well, that really sucks. Do you remember the music that was playing during the scene?
In the
There wasn't
in-
any.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a music that. So I did a bit of like film composition as well. When I was at music school, the thing is, you have music in a show or a movie to basically tell you how to feel, and when it's lacking of a scene, you don't know what to do. You feel very anxious as a viewer. And with every major death in this show, you had the same thing. When Magneto got killed, no music. When Magic got killed, no music. When who else? Kurt.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Valerie Cooper. Maybe.
Trumpets of Joy.
Maybe. I didn't think about that. I mean, I knew how I felt. I was moved by Nightcrawler's death. I don't think I felt that way about Magneto. Maybe Melanie did. Nor who else died in the season? Exodus. And I like Exodus. But it's just yeah. You're right. I that's why I don't remember the music.
Same with Gambit. When Cable shoots
Oh,
Gambit,
but that was perfect though. That
silence.
was
Oh,
so
they're all perfect, but they're like the silences, the spaces that they let it hit harder, basically.
I
But
can't
there's no
believe
cushioning of music.
it ended with that. I can't remember. Does the credits have music? I think it doesn't start with music and then it kicks the music on a little softer than usual. You know, the credits at the end, because it legit goes to black, it fades to black, and then it starts playing. That's why I was really surprised. That's where they were going to end it. Like, wow. You know, before the after credit, of course, with Valerie,
Right.
which we can definitely talk about and see where it's going with Great and Creed and all of that. That is definitely a nod to the comics, though. The whole scene with Mystique.
Oh, it's right out of the. I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Valerie-
one of the most literal torn from the comic scenes in the
Mm.
whole season.
But in the comics, that led up to this hush hush. Valerie's actually been alive the whole time. Let's form X Factor. In
Right.
this, it's like, no, I think she just killed her.
I don't know about that. But I think what's really interesting to me is part of me, when the Kurt thing got tipped, I'm like, well, that sucks, because I almost would have rather lost Gambit and or Rogue and like brought in Kurt full time, because like, you know me, I'm always about like, bring me new things, I want new characters. But then I really thought about it and I was like, well, like Bishop was such more of a factor this season. Forge was more of a factor. I mean, just think of all the opening credits we got. You know, we have Polaris now as a major character. I don't think she's going anywhere. Now Psylocke and Archangel are in the mix. Like, are they going to come back? So I'm like, you know what? Actually, this season did a really good job of expanding the world. And maybe that allows me to forgive it a little bit for feeling a little bit all over the place, because we were dealing with 4 or 5 more major characters than we even had last season. And so I think that like that, you know, I was really quite sour about that episode last night. And then as I thought about it, I was like, well, I really just didn't like the climax of it, but I really liked a lot of other things about it, and I really liked a lot of things about the season. And what I like the most is this is a show that doesn't just treat this like it's not just toys, it's not just action figures, which, you know, it's always going to be X-Men and it's going to have an extra resonance because it's about mutants and it's about minorities. But, you know, at points, any cartoon can start to feel really toyetic, but this season still felt like it had those points for me where it felt like serious television. It felt like there's a bigger message. It felt like we were treating this material with real reverence. And like, I don't know if we even get into the MCU and it's going to treat the X-Men with the amount of reverence that this cartoon has. And so I still am incredibly thankful that we have it. And for all of my critiques of it, I still think it's not only the best X-Men adaptation in media, I think in many cases, it does some of these stories better than any version of X-Men media, including the comics.
I thought the same thing, because I know we're going to get this question, or at least I will on TikTok. Like, hey, I just watched X-Men 97. What are some stories that are just as good? Or what did this adapt? And when you think of adaptations, you think, oh, it can't be as good as the original source material. And I hate to disappoint people when they're like, what are the best Jubilee stories?
Exactly.
Well, she
It's like, well, you watched it.
Had a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so hard to do that, where it's a lot easier to do with the MCU because they only have like an hour and a half to 3 hours to show you just like bits and pieces of where these characters and little homages. Whereas this actually had a whole season to kind of build upon like these stories, and some of them are done better, right? I think the Brood episode was great. I still think there's better Brood stories in the comics.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know that was the best Brood story of all time. No,
but I completely agree with you. There were some stories in here that I was like, wow, that was handled a lot better than they did in the comics. I kind of like that adaptation better than the original source material, which isn't always the case, right? But it does happen to me from time to time. But I am finding it difficult to be like, well, you could read Fatal Attractions, but that's built upon this and this and this. And it's like X-Men, right? It's one long soap opera. Or you can just watch a 30-minute episode going, well, that's really cool. There's all these other members of something called Team X. So I'm just waiting for those questions to pop in. Is there anything else we need to talk about before we give our final scores? Valerie Cooper, what do you expect out of Valerie Cooper and Graydon Creed next season?
Well, what do we expect after? I mean, we saw all of the stuff that we've talked about this season. So what does everybody think the big stories they're going to put in the blender for next season are?
I'm going to go with She Lies with Angels.
Oh,
the classic Chuck Austin story.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Fox.
There's got to be at least one guy in the writing room going, you know what's really good, guys? You ever heard of Romeo and Juliet, but with wings? And
I wouldn't be surprised if Mystique maybe tried to break Gambit and Rogue up. Maybe, I don't know if they'd go as far as like her
Peter Milligan?
Yes, I wouldn't be
Bizarre Love Triangle.
I mean, maybe she'll just infiltrate the mansion for like an episode or two and be just as Fox, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. And I think obviously the Graydon Creed stuff, I mean, in the comics, he never got to be president. He was killed off before then. So we're treading a bit of new territory. But I think, yeah.
To bounce off of what you just said, I think that could be interesting to do the love triangle there. Because, right, that's when we get messy with Scott and Jean as post-apocalypse. He's messed up from having apocalypse in him and starts making questionable choices. So that would be really interesting, since we've already kind of gotten a taste of that with Scott and Jean with the whole Maddie thing in Inferno, to maybe co-opt that story to something there. I think what I want to see is I want to see Emma Frost with the Hellions, and I don't know if we'll get to really see any of those side teams, but I just want to see more Emma, and I really like that era of her when she's trying to find her place in mutantdom and decide if she's a villain or decide if she's a good guy, but she's kind of in this gray zone of dabbling of being a teacher. And I think with the fallout of like, oh, I was helping X Factor round up mutants, maybe I shouldn't do that. Like, it opens maybe a door for her in the next season.
I would like to see new characters join the X-Men, and some take a leave of absence. Maybe take a break from Gambit and Rogue. They've had their thing. Bring in some new characters, some unexpected new faces, like take the A-list roster, get an opening, would be really cool. there's so much to adapt. There's so much I want to see, but I also want to see also original stories. I'm cool with letting them run with it and see what happens.
I don't know, Wheels, what X-Men stories that they didn't get to do you think are potentially on the horizon?
Well, I think Onslaught is the big one because that was all the major setup within that first like 7-8 episodes. Like that was the teasers were there for Xavier because he was getting so much more angry, and like that is like the big red sign that's like Onslaught's coming. So probably that. I mean, I was really surprised that we didn't properly get a 12 adaptation. I remember when the first trailer came out, I was properly convinced we were going to get a 12 adaptation. And I know it's like the worst X-Men story ever, but I thought season 1 made Operation Zero Tolerance a better story. So, I had hope they would do the 12 better, but they didn't really touch it. So I don't know, really. They love to adapt things that are more and more modern. So I'm curious what's next for season 3, but I think the Brotherhood is definitely making a reappearance. Maybe Freedom Force as well.
Ooh. I don't know, Max, any big stories that you're anticipating?
Well, I mean, I would love, like, one of my favorites is Hope. So I would love them to do all the Messiah stuff. And I mean, ideally, I'd like to see him do Krakoa, but I'd be worried that it'd be like maybe 2 episodes at most. While I would like a whole season of Krakoa.
Yeah,
really,
I want
like,
a whole
flesh it out,
Half an episode is all you get of Krakoa.
Right. He grows a tree, they have eggs, the end. I mean, I obviously Onslaught's being teased. I really think they have thinking about things they have an opportunity to do better than the comic books. I think they absolutely could do Zorn and do it better than the comic books because Magneto is missing right now. So that's very attractive to me. I think since we've established the school, even though it's kind of in the wrong order to some of these stories, and we've established that there's the one squad of Sentinels and we have like Bad Val now, could we be doing some Childhood End stuff from Academy X next season, maybe? Could we do some form of House of M, even if it's not with Wanda, but it's still like a reality that kind of decreases or increases the amount of mutants as a result? I think that's there's a potential for that there. And then I really think that there's like, if they purposely had us feel bad about Magic getting killed and they want to see her come back and do a Colossus redemption arc, could they do some version of X Infernus, but put Colossus into the story so that he actually gets to experience it? I think that's possible. I think, there's a lot of things that this kind of tease up, and especially looking at what they love to go and repair. I agree with, I was really hoping they were going to do the 12 and do like a kick-ass version of the 12. I was like, yes, fix it. But now I'm like, it
what do you
feels
mean
like
a kick-ass? We had that in the comics with the Living Pharaoh and X-Men.
It was, and so I guess like anything all the way up to, it kind of feels like we already did Blood of Apocalypse because of all the Gambit stuff, but anything all the way up to like Messiah Complex and Second Coming kind of feels like all very possible. And I'm not saying they're going to speedrun all of those things in order, but like thinking about the things where there's like elements on the table for those plots, those are some of the plots that kind of stick out to me.
I don't think I'm lying about, well, maybe I'm lying about She Lies with Angels, but I would be okay with them adapting really bad stories, well, that are across the board hated.
And just like, yeah.
Well, they kind of did that a little bit because I hate Blood of Apocalypse. I think Blood of Apocalypse was so stupid. And they actually did a pretty good job with that for the little adaptation that they did. But yeah, like do something that ups the stakes, and hell, they could adapt the Draco and see what Nightcrawler's doing with his dad and hell. Okay.
I mean, again, talking about the ways to bring dead characters back, maybe they could pull in Jason Aaron's Amazing X-Men. Like, there's no reason we can't see some elements from after AVX remix because not all of them explicitly require AVX to have happened. So yeah,
I would love to see this though, but maybe like spinning out of a New Mutant series.
I'd love to see Emplet. We have all the Gen X characters, and Emplet's friggin' scary.
Yeah. I also, we better see Destiny in season 3. If Destiny is not there with Mystique, I will be mad. I feel like that's such a good character that you need to adapt. So they better be together.
Well, maybe she can show up with the Brotherhood.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Or Freedom Force.
How come shows can't do 26 episodes a year anymore? I think that might have to do with streaming services and commercials, and I'm sure some kind of reason why. Streaming is to blame. The Bendis era would be cool since they've never really shown the beginning of the team. That would be a really cool idea to show back the beginning of the X-Men, like the adaptation of who the original team was in this.
Jean has to die soon, right? Because I'm thinking of a lot of these modern stories. Well, no, listen, I'm genuinely like, if she is in a lot of these modern stories that she is supposed to not be in, intrinsically, I feel like so many of them are easily solved. Like, her power creep is too high for some of these, and I feel like she can't make it past season 3, right? Like, realistically. Because you think about Bendis X-Men, Phoenix Force 5 would never happen.
I mean, they totally could still do it without.
Why? She can handle it by herself, so why would they need to split it between 5 people? The reason they did that
because
is
they look cool and those outfits will sell toys.
The reason they did it is because it took 5 of them to hold what Rachel or Jean could do. So, like, there are arcs where I'm like, low-key, like, she's got to be off-world or incapacitated or dead. Listen, I love her, but, like, that's my dead wife. Like,
I do love the irony of Odfel. Like, we gotta kill Jean.
We
right?
gotta kill her. She can't keep getting away with this. Like,
she got nothing wrong. Like, you just want Emma to show up and cause all kinds of trouble.
Well, and the thing is, I feel like, right, Scott and Emma's relationship is so interesting and so important for both of their character developments, and simply cannot happen while Jean is still there. It just can't, without being messy and you know, not earned or satisfying to watch, right? There's just so much of that 2000s into like 2010s era that is motivated by Jean's death. Like Logan taking charge of the school to have the Jean Grey school, right? There's so many pivotal moments that are catalyzed by her being dead.
Yeah.
Hey, listen.
Well, you don't have to kill her. You could just make her go away. Haven't we seen?
What if I mean she's got to be off-world or incapacitated, or like she has to be out. She has to be out somehow.
We could put her in a cocoon and drop her into the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah, or like she's stuck in the white hot room, or like she's got to be gone for a bit.
Okay. I do appreciate that Emma had comic accurate outfits in this season. That's very nice. You know,
well, she had a modesty panel in the middle of her corset bustier that no real self-respecting corset bustier person would have.
A modesty what?
There's a modesty panel here.
Yeah, you know, like when you lace up something, usually there's that peak of skin and like underboob in the middle. But if you look at how they draw it, but a lot of times when people have corsets, there'll be like a strip of fabric that you can pull down beneath that's the same color as the corset, so that it's a modesty panel, so you don't show any of your own skin. Or if you've got like you know, undercarriage corsetry and cinchers going underneath, it disguises that. And all of the times that Emma had the bustier on, there was a modesty panel in the middle, so you wouldn't actually see any like scandalous skin on the cartoon. It made me really laugh.
I'll have to re-watch those episodes for research purposes.
It's very silly. They did the same thing with Maddie's action figure when they dropped the 97 one. Yes. Modesty shorts. And I'm like, why does she have gray between? Why can't she just be wearing thigh highs? Why is there gray between her underwear and the thigh highs? Like, what?
I hated that. Maybe she'll be back with a proper outfit and give Havoc his Inferno outfit, and then everybody can be happy.
I would be so happy about both of those. I would put Havoc in that stupid little crop top.
Do you remember when they had the Siren Marvel Legends figure?
Siren.
Yeah.
They didn't give her a screaming face.
No, they didn't.
Thing because they felt like it could have been, you know, interpreted as being sexual. Well, I mean, that's like her, not being sexual, but like the screaming thing is her thing. So you just kind of had like a mute siren.
Well, and that's so, it's so silly to me because they do that for Wolverine always has a screaming face. Like, what?
Hey, We can make Wolverine sexual, but we can't do that to Siren. She doesn't have that many toys. Wolverine has like 85 different versions of Wolverine. And half of them can be sexual if you want them to. Can Sadie Sink pull off Madeline Pryor? Sure, she's a great actress. I really like her in everything that I've seen her in. There's something
Who would they
happened
cast as Jean to have Sadie Sink be Maddie Pryor, though?
My toe looks worse, but feels better. I can walk on it now, but it looks awful.
What did you do?
What did you do to your toe?
I cleaned out all of the litter boxes in my house because my cat was sick, so I cleaned them all out, and I was like, oh, quickly trying to throw litter in, and I picked up the big 35-pound litter because we have 4 cats. I was filling up all of them, dropped it right on my nail bed. 35 pounds right on the nail bed feels bad, man. It feels real bad. So I was in a boot and like not really walking much beginning of last week. But I'm finally able to walk. It looks its worst by this point, but I can at least stand on it.
I remember my old work had a gym. It was pretty cool. So I was like, I'm gonna go work out. My first day at work, I'm like, I'm gonna go work out. And I was starting to do free weights, and I was putting the 50-pound weights on, and I dropped it on my foot. Like, I moved my foot fast enough so it didn't get to my toes, but for some reason I didn't go back. I went forward. So it smashed the top of my foot. And I thought, oh, wow, what a stupid way to impress everybody here my first day. I had to go to the doctor, make sure it wasn't broken. I just remember oh, it was awful. I could not wear a shoe, man. Like, I couldn't wear a shoe for so long. Like,
you're stronger than me, though. I was like, if I go to the doctor, they're not going to do anything about it. So I have no idea if it's broken.
I think it is not a bad idea, though. I mean, yeah, you're right. You get a broken toe. There's nothing you can do.
Because it's my big toe. I'm like, what are they going to do? Splint it? Like, that's not going to do really a whole lot. So I've just been, taking care of it. But
they can pray over it or whatever, depending on what doctor you go to.
$100. Here's some Advil.
Okay. Yeah,
all right.
Thank you for that. Okay. What would you give season 2 of X-Men 97? Ladies first, Odfel.
Oh, why do I have to go first?
Yeah, because I saw you hiding. You hid.
I was hiding. I was hiding. I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Okay, fair enough. Crisis. What do you got?
It's a very respectable 6 out of 10 for me.
6 out of 10 is still good.
Yeah, I mean, there were episodes that I loved, and there were episodes that didn't work, and it averaged out right around 6.
Okay, Max.
I was really into it. I just kind of dropped off with the last 2, so I'm going to give it a 7.5.
Wow, 7.5. All right. One Wheelchair X. Do you want to come back to near mid condition? Think. That's Magneto Omar talking. What do you got?
Yeah, before this, I actually was thinking it was lower, but actually having this discussion, I feel like I maybe was a bit too harsh on something, so I'm gonna say 7.5 as well. I think, yeah, it's not as good as season 1, but
I thought I was too scathing. I was gonna go with an 8, and now I feel like I could have been more scathing.
You thought 8.5 was scathing? Have we?
Well, because everyone gave the last season 10s, I didn't want to go first and be like the poo-poo party.
Yeah, but what thing that Marvel has ever done was as good as last season?
True.
Ever?
What are you gonna say? Winter Soldier? What was as
We're
good
not,
as
I'm not gonna do this with you right now. We're talking about X-Men 97 season 2.
All right, what do you give it, Omar? What's your rating?
You know what? I think an 8.5. I agree with Odfel. I don't think it was as strong as season 1, but I thought it was great, and I would watch it again. The animation by far is the best animation a Marvel TV show has done. Yes, I stand by that statement. I don't think anything has come close.
Is scathing, Omar.
You know what? It's a good thing I don't know what that word means. So you go to hell. Okay? Welcome to die. All right.
I just feel like I always come in to this show with like really low scores, and Omar's like, "What the hell?" So I was like,
I judge everyone that comes into this show.
"I always have to go first. It's evil."
Odfel, 8.5 or 8. You still no, she doesn't. No, taxis, James. To all of you, when Rogue is talking to the Celestial, was she in the white hot room or am I wrong?
Ooh.
No,
I
think
kind
it's
of
just-
do think it would be interesting if they established the White Hot Room as a celestial plane, and it's something that the Phoenix has access to. That would actually kind of be interesting, because I feel like it's gotten so pigeonholed as like a pocket dimension for only the Phoenix, but then also overused simultaneously. So I wouldn't be mad at that.
So
Well,
people
also,
in the
it
chat are
sort of
saying
functions-
7.5. Sorry, 7.5, 7.5, 7.5, 8.5.
we have
All
consensus.
right. What were you saying, Crisis?
I was just gonna say it does kind of make an amount of sense as an analog for the White Hot Room, because like Rogue doesn't exist while she's there. Like they establish she goes into the portal, and while she's in the portal, it's like there's no outcome. It's kind of like a Schrodinger's cat situation. And like I do think, at least in spirit, that is the function of the White Hot Room. I was trying to remember, have we seen anybody in that white space talking to a Celestial, a comic? Maybe not in a X-Men comic. So like I do think there's certainly shades of White Hot Room, but I think something that this season did a lot very successfully is they gave us something that obviously is not just a reference to something, but you could kind of like look at it sideways and go, like the first time they all get to the X-Corps and there's a giant circular table with like a certain amount of seats. You're like, I know that we've had circular tables in many settings other than the Quiet Council, but you cannot help but think of the Quiet Council when you see these people at the table. That's kind of how I felt about the White Hot Room and Celestial. Like, must it be the White Hot Room? No. Is it obviously meant to make a big X-Men fan consider the White Hot Room? Possibly.
I think you were probably supposed to think in a 9 out of 10. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad people have enjoyed it. I haven't seen any low scores like a 6 in the chat yet. These are reasonable people. That's good. I'm glad life balances out people like that.
Do we?
Thank you,
do
Crisis,
we-
for taking the heat off of me for one episode of the show.
You'll be back next week with your hot takes.
Yeah.
What was your question, Max?
Do we have a favorite morph?
Ooh.
I like
Mine would
Spiral.
be
That was
Cyclops.
wicked.
The Cyclops was good. That was
good.
And
Yeah.
well, he turned into one of, I didn't recognize one of them, where he turned into like Ozempic ET. I didn't know who that was.
Oh, it was that. It's a member of the Imperial Guard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Earthquake.
yeah. Imperial Guard. Mhm.
Max, did we talk about Dupe being on the show?
Oh,
No,
dude.
we didn't. There he is.
Why didn't you talk about Duke being on the show, Max?
I didn't want to, make it all about my main guy. That really took me out. Also, he was really large in the show. Like he was
He can change his
considerably
size.
sizable.
Yeah.
He can. Well, that's good for his partner.
My thing
Maybe
about
they
Dupe
wanted to
is
make him more legally distinct from Slimer.
I'm just why if Dupe
The
was there,
worst.
like why is he like a member of the student body? Like he should be a teacher. Like that's like a I don't know, however old
You're
Dupe
never
is.
too old to learn.
Like-
Adult education is a good thing. You can all, have a growth mindset.
That's an
Have a
adult
curious mind.
green potato floating there. Like he does not belong with those students. He belongs on the student on the teacher faculty. Not
I would say
student
that's
body.
speciesist of you, but we don't actually know what species Dupe is, I don't think.
He's
so
from
I can't...
the margins. That's what I know. He's from the margins. and that's it.
I do love one of my favorite things in this world is that the only time Darwin Cook has ever drawn Wolverine has been in that Wolverine and Dupe miniseries. And that's it. Like, because he's known for a lot for his DC work, right? But Darwin Cook drawing that Dupe Wolverine 2-issue miniseries, I love recommending that. Dupe is in the hearts of all who believe. Will there be another live stream reaction when they announce the new X-Men movie and cast? Are they? Oh, D23 is this weekend. Yeah.
D23 is this weekend, and they keep heavily teasing that there's going to be some sort of X-Men. Omar, I don't know if you Kingdom Hearts, but they also keep really teasing. There's going to be some Kingdom Hearts announcements.
Wait, what did you say? There's going to be some Kingdom Hearts and X-Men?
Announcements. They keep teasing it. I don't know if you're a Kingdom Hearts person, but that's the other really big hush hush.
I couldn't get off the damn island, Odfel.
Really?
Yeah.
Be so for real.
I'm like, this ain't a side scroller or an old school RPG. This is for the
It's
youth.
menu based. It's pretty much just like the
I
next
couldn't get
step
off the
beyond
damn island. That's
F7.
for, like coconuts or something. That's not for me. I did watch Melanie play it, and I thought it was holy crap. I love the music. I love the I love Disney and Squaresoft. I'm sorry, Square Enix. But did they come like super convolute that story? People bitch about how hard it is like to get into X-Men. Try playing Kingdom Hearts 2 and then understanding Kingdom Hearts 3 without the Game Boy Advance games and all these other games, and then you're like, whoa, what does this have to do with Disney and Final Fantasy?
You need the Pepe Silva board, truly. It's so messy.
Yes.
I love it, but it's messy. I feel like that's why I'm so equipped for X-Men, though, is I'm used to messy fandoms.
Maybe, yeah, understanding X-Men, I get. Understanding Kingdom Hearts, it's like I don't have that kind of degree from college to understand what the hell is going on in there. This isn't just Disney and Squaresoft people. Oh, though, wait a second now. I forgot that with the MCU, Disney, we can have Wolverine and Donald fucking Duck team up. Oh my God. Weapon Duck. This is, oh, dude, it writes itself. This is money in the bank, baby. D23 is Friday at 10 p.m. I will text Odfel and see what she's doing on a Friday night at 10 p.m.
I should be off work. I got a last minute gig for adjacent to Fan Expo Chicago. But I should be free by
I will let you know if we can do that. X-Men 97 season 3 Dream Drop Distance. Yeah, someone's playing that. All right. I want to thank my wonderful panel today. One Wheelchair X. Dude, this was a pleasure to finally get to do a show with you. I've seen you in the comment section, and I saw that Crisis had exclusivity to you, and I didn't want to bother you about coming on. But if you ever want to join this little show called Matt My Ex or any of the Evergreens, by God, you're more than welcome to, because you were a lot of fun, man.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I didn't embarrass myself. And yeah, I'm more than happy to come back anytime you want me. X-Men is like the one thing I confidently know things about. So
could you come back for a Kingdom Hearts panel?
What's Kingdom Hearts? I really don't know. So no. Yeah. Anything, okay. Everything but Kingdom Hearts. Sure.
Where can people find you?
Everyone, you can find me on One Winter X that's at YouTube and TikTok and Twitter if people are on there. It's the same everywhere. I always do videos about X-Men. Obviously been doing stuff about X-Men 97, but I also do comic breakdowns and stuff about the movies as well. So yeah, if you care about X-Men, go check out my channel, I guess, and there's plenty of stuff there. I'm also I do a bunch of ranking videos with Crisis over on their channel. So if you want to see us rank every X-Men writer ever and every X-Men event ever, which were both 4-hour streams, you can
totally crazy, totally out of this world, out of our minds.
Then you should definitely check those out too. But yeah, thank you again so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. What about you, Professor Max Xavier? What are you doing these days? Where can people find you?
You can find me in the twinkle of an eye of a loved one. You can find me in the melancholy when recalling a former lover. And you can find me on my YouTube channel and on Instagram, where I have videos of me playing guitar, because I don't do anything comic related. Kind of. Well, for now.
Oh, for now.
I have stuff at Bruin.
Okay. Does it have anything to do with those eyebrows?
I don't know. They're rentals.
Okay. Crisis. Where can people find you?
My home on the internet is crushingcrisis.com, where I talk about not cartoons, but comic books, guides to so many of them, including one of the most definitive guides to X-Men comics that's ever existed on the internet. Crushing Crisis is celebrating its 26th year anniversary here in 2026 on August 26th. So I'm on all manner of videos here on Near Mint Condition, as well as on my own channel, Crushing Crisis. Wheels will be back for another video later this month. Max, hopefully, if schedule allows, will be back for something special and new we are brewing that I cannot reveal. And I'm always happy to be here on Near Mint Condition with all of you Minties, especially if I get to hang out with Odfel. So thank you so much for having me.
Not the O name I was hoping for, but that's okay. Speaking of Odfel, where can people find you, young lady?
So I predominantly do cosplay crazy. I know, shocking, who would ever. But I am Odfel over on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. Predominantly doing cosplay related content on those. And then here on YouTube, I do toy and statue unboxings. I do behind the scenes vlogs of conventions, as well as occasional cosplay tutorials. So if that is something you're interested in, please do check those out.
Okay, look, guys, if anybody misses my cosplay, I'm old Buckethead, okay? I even said the welcome to die line. I know my character really well. I am the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. I am back live tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. to go over the Marvel solicitations for November, and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, the entire DC catalog, which will be taking notes as to what people want added, and it's a lot of fun. So they've already said yes to some things and no to some things about the Omnis, but let's get those DC Finest and Compendiums editions going, and that will be on Friday at 6 p.m. with a bunch of panelists that day. Omar, 2 hours in, still haven't told us when's the Usagi Saga. I don't know. I don't run Dark Horse. I've asked, and they haven't told me. I say
Come on, Omar, CEO of Dark Horse.
Wow. Even this, like Mike Richardson got fired. No one said rental. Did you rent them? Lars will be here tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. and then 6 p.m. on Friday. It's always good to see Lars. I haven't seen Omnidog in months, so it'll be good to stream with that guy too. He's been sick just about every time I have a show. Coincidentally enough, though, he has a show later on in the same day, so I'm starting to think, I don't want to put that into the universe. I'll be back. So thank you all so much. Odfel and I will be back next Wednesday to talk about something, maybe Lanterns, maybe some X-Men. Who knows? Maybe
don't make me watch Lanterns.
I'm gonna make you watch Lanterns. You better give it a good rating because I love those actors. All right, we are out of here, everyone. Stay healthy and safe. Bye-bye for now.